Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandal Pranam.
Haribol, Prabhuji. You're quite bright. Can you turn your contrast up a bit? Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandal Pranam. Mataji, can you hear me?
Yeah, very good. Good sound, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You can't hear me?
Okay. Okay, Mataji, I can't hear you. Oh, okay, that's fine then. I can start. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
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 Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare
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 Hare Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare
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 Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva Srila Guru Deva. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सत श्रीमद एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय. नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्णा गोप गोपीनाथ राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय. श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय. मायापुर धाम की जय. जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. गंगा माई की जय. यमुना माई की जय. भक्ति देवी की जय. तुलसी देवी की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. ISKCON वर्तमान गुरुवृंद की जय. समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. ग्रंथराज भागवतम की जय. ट्रांसेंडेंटल distribution की जय. All glories to assembled devotees. All glory, all glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gaga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna. I'm sorry for the previous Mataji. My speaker was possibly not connected, and I was like not able to hear. But now I can hear you.
Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam
Narayanam
Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram
Naram
Chaiva
Chaiva
Narottamam
Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim
Devim
Saraswatim
Saraswatim
Vyasam
Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Tato
Tato Jayamudiraye
Jayamudiraye
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu
Nashtaprayeshu
Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata
Bhagavata
Sevaya
Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati
Uttama
Uttama Shloke
Shloke
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir
Bhaktir
Bhavati
Bhavati
Naishtaki.
Naishtaki.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class today, and reciting from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, chapter number 30, verse number 35. And you can recite after me. Yatrendriyante katamrishtas
Yatridyante
Yatriyante
kathamrishta.
katamritas
Yatrendriyante katamrishtas
Yatriyante
Yatridyante kathamrishta.
katamritas
Krishnaya prashamo yataha
Trishna
Trishnaya
parsamo yataha.
prasamoyataha
Krishnaya prashamo yataha
Krishnaya
Krishnaya
parsamo yataha.
prasamoyataha
Nirvairam yatra bhuteshu
Nirveram
Nirvairam
yatra
yatra bhuteshu
bhuteshu.
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो
नोद्वेगो
यत्र
यत्र
कश्चन
कश्चन
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते कथामृष्टास्
यत्रेदन्ते
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते
कथामृष्टा
कृष्णाय प्रशमो यतः
कृष्णाय
कृष्णाय
प्रशमो यतः
प्रसन्नो यतः
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
निर्वैरं
निर्वैरं
यत्र
यत्र
भूतेषु
भूतेषु
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो
नोद्वेगो
यत्र
यत्र
कश्चन
कश्चन
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते कथामृष्टास्
यत्रेयन्ते
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते
कथामृष्टा
कथामृष्टास्
कृष्णाय प्रशमो यतः
कृष्णाय
कृष्णाय
प्रशमो
प्रसन्नो
यतः
यतः
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
निर्वैरं
निर्वैरं
यत्र
यत्र
भूतेषु
भूतेषु
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो
नोद्वेगो
यत्र
यत्र
कश्चन
कश्चन यत्र यद्यान्ते कथामृष्टा
यत्रेद्यन्ते
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते
कथामृष्टा
कथामृष्टास्
कृष्णाय प्रशमो यतः
कृष्णाय
कृष्णाय
प्रशमो यतः
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
निर्वैरं
निर्वैरं
यत्र
यत्र
भूतेषु
भूतेषु
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो
नोद्वेगो
यत्र
यत्र
कश्चन
कश्चन
यत्रेयन्ते कथामृष्टास्
यत्रेद्यन्ते
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते
कथामृष्टा
कथामृष्टास्
कृष्णय प्रसमो यतः
कृष्णाय
कृष्णाय
प्रशमो
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 यतः
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 निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
निर्वैरं
निर्वैरं
यत्र
यत्र
भूतेषु
भूतेषु
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो
नोद्वेगो
यत्र
यत्र कश्चन
कश्चन यत्रेद्यन्ते कथामृष्टास् यत्रेद्यन्ते
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते
कथामृष्टास्
कथामृष्टास्
कृष्णाय प्रशमो यतः
कृष्णाय
कृष्णाय प्रशमो
यतः
यतः
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
निर्वैरं
निर्वैरं
यत्र
यत्र
भूतेषु
भूतेषु नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो
नोद्वेगो
यत्र
यत्र
कश्चन
कश्चन
यत्रेद्यन्ते कथामृष्टास्
यत्रेन्द्रियन्ते
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते
कथामृष्टाः
कथामृष्टास्
कृष्णाय प्रशमो यथा
कृष्णाय
कृष्णाय
प्रशमो यतः
प्रसन्नो
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु निर्वैरं
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
भूतेषु
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
द्वेगो यत्र
यत्र
कश्चन
कश्चन
यत्र
what
दीयन्ते कथा यत्र दीयन्ते कथा मृष्टये
यत्रेन्द्रियान्ते
यत्रेद्यन्ते
कथामृष्टास्
कथामृष्टास्
कृष्णाद्या पुरुषमो यथा
तृष्णाय
कृष्णाय प्रशमो
प्रशमो
यतः
यतः
निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु
निर्वैरं
निर्वैरं
यत्र
यत्र
भूतेषु
भूतेषु
नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन
नोद्वेगो
नोद्वेगो
यत्र
यत्र
कश्चन
कश्चन
हरे कृष्ण
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna.
प्रभु
Thank you, Prabhuji.
थैंक यू
What word meaning? Yatra,
यत्र
यत्र
where,
में
idyante,
इद्यन्ते
are worshipped or discussed,
are worshipped or discussed
kataha,
कतः
words,
words
mrishtaha,
मृष्टाः
pure,
pure
krishnayaha,
तृष्णाय
of material hankerings,
of material anchoring
prashamaha,
prashamaha
satisfaction,
satisfaction,
yataha,
yataha,
by which,
by
by
which,
which
nirvairam,
nirvairam,
non-enviousness,
non-enviousness,
yatra,
yatra,
where,
where,
bhuteshu,
bhuteshu,
among living entities,
among living entities,
na,
na,
not,
not,
udvegaha,
udvegaha,
fear,
fear,
where, sorry, yatra,
yatra,
where, kaschana,
kashana,
any.
any.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Can repeat after me. Whenever pure topics
Whenever pure topics
of the transcendental world
of the transcendental world
are discussed,
are discussed,
the members of the audience
the members of the audience
forget all kinds of material hankerings,
forget all kinds of material hankerings,
at least for the time being.
at least for the time being.
Not only that,
Not only that,
but they are no longer
they are no longer
envious of one another,
envious of one another,
nor do they suffer
nor do they suffer
from anxiety
from anxiety
or fear.
or fear.
Perfect. Vaikuntha means without anxiety, and the material world means full of anxiety. As stated by Prahlad Maharaja, Sada Samudvignadiyam Asat Grihat. The living entities who have accepted this material world as a residence are full of anxiety. A place immediately becomes Vaikuntha whenever the holy topics of the personality of the Godhead are discussed by pure devotees. This is the process of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, chanting and hearing about the Supreme Lord Vishnu. As the Supreme Lord himself confirms, Natam tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridayeshu va tatra tishtami narada yatra gayanti mat bhaktaha. My dear Narada, actually I do not reside in my abode, Vaikuntha, nor do I reside within the hearts of the yogis, but I reside in that place where my pure devotees chant my holy name and discuss my form, pastimes, and qualities. Because of the presence of the Lord in the form of the transcendental vibration, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is evoked. This atmosphere is without fear and anxiety. One living entity does not fear another. By hearing the holy names and glories of the Lord, a person executes pious activities. Shrinvatam swakada Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha. Srimad-Bhāgavatam 1.2.17. Thus, his material hankerings immediately stop. This Sankirtana movement, started by the Society for Krishna Consciousness, is meant for creating Vaikuntha, the transcendental world that is without anxiety, even in this material world. The method is the propagation of Shravanam Kirtanam process throughout the world. In the material world, everyone is envious of his fellow man. Animalistic envy exists in human society as long as there is no performance of Sankirtana Yajna, the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Prachetas therefore decided to remain always in the society of the devotees, and they considered that to be the highest benediction possible in the human life. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamakyam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaurabhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to take the blessings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj, and all the Vaishnavis and Vaishnavas assembled on this Zoom session. Please bless me so that I can use the right words with the right intention to glorify Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and also in that process purify my own consciousness. And if I use any words which are not appropriate, kindly apologize me. Hare Krishna. So just reciting the sloka once again. Yatrendriyante katamrishtas Trishna yaha prashamo yataha Nirvairam yatra bhuteshu Nodvego yatra kaschana. In the translation again, whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. So we are reading the chapter, The Activities of the Prachetas, and we are almost in the last sections. So we have seen when Lord was present in front of the Prachetas, who was pleased by their severe austerities, and the Lord asked the Prachetas to ask for benediction. So then the Prachetas, they started glorifying the Lord, Lord's forms, qualities, and pastimes. Then they started asking for benediction from the Lord. This is what we have seen so far. So as we have discussed in the previous slokas, they started asking benedictions which are unlimited. Because as we know, the Lord is Ananta, who can give unlimited benedictions. They asked for one benediction, which is unlimited. As the Prachetas are very intelligent, they did not ask for any temporary benediction. So this was also discussed in the previous slokas, and their benediction was to get the association of the devotees, and that to be the association of devotees in all the time. So because the Lord is unlimited, and being alone, we cannot understand the Lord, who is unlimited. So in order to understand the unlimitedness of the Lord, we should be in the association of the devotees. And by the mercy of the pure devotees, we will be able to understand the Lord, as also stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.54, where it says, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Kai, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So only by the mercy of the pure devotees, we'll be able to understand the Supreme Lord. And the advantage of staying with the devotees all the time, like 24/7, we will be hearing about the Lord, meditating about the Lord, serving and thinking about the Lord. And that is the benefit of being with the pure devotees. So that's what we also heard in many pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, and Vritasura, and so on. So even the Prachetas, they're also asking for the same, and they don't want anything else but the association of the devotees. So they are ready to go anywhere, even to the hellish planets also. And they don't differentiate when they are where they are, but they're always hankering for the association of the devotees. And that's what Prabhupada mentioned in the translation also, where he defines Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means without anxiety. And the material world is full of anxiety. So why Vaikuntha is called as Vaikuntha, as we know, because Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, as it is the place where pastimes, glories, and the glories of the Lord are discussed, and that place becomes Vaikuntha. So here the Lord himself says to Narada Muni, in the words, he says to Narada Muni that Naham Tishtami Vaikunte, I am not in Vaikuntha, and Yoginam Hridayeshuva, I am not in the hearts of the yogis. But where am I? He says, Tatra tishtami narada yatra gayanti mad bhaktaha. I reside in that place where my pure devotees chant my holy name and discuss my form, pastimes, and qualities. So the Lord himself said, and it is also quoted from Padma Puran. So Srila Prabhupada says here, because of the presence of the Lord in the form of the transcendental vibration, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is evoked, which is mentioned in the purport. And we all know that the Lord is transcendental, and whatever related to the Lord is also transcendental. So a few classes ago, one of the devotees also mentioned that the paraphernalia of the Lord is also transcendental. So we should respect the paraphernalia of the Lord as equal to the Lord, and we should not disrespect it. As we see, the Lord is present everywhere, and He is omniscient and omnipotent, and everything belongs to Him, and He is there in every place. So there is a connection in that way, and hence pure devotees connect everything with the Lord. So that is the greatest advantage of being with the pure devotees, where we come to see everything practically connected to Krishna and the way they treat everything in relation to the Lord. So that is what Prachetas were anchoring for. So whenever the pure devotees talk about the glories of the Lord, that transcendental sound vibration invokes positive atmosphere, right? Even though we are there in the material world, but it is not the material world, because the transcendental sound vibration has empowered the material world, which becomes Vaikuntha with the discussion of the Lord's pastimes, where there is no anxiety. And people are so much anxious in their life, right? In the current world, we can see people are so much anxious, and they wanted to actually seek so many things, and they are always running behind happiness, searching for it, but still they are not happy, and they're always stressed and are very anxious, and they are trying to seek happiness in all possible ways, even though they might be earning a lot of money, having luxurious cars, but still they are distressed and not at all happy. Externally, whatever they have earned, they are unable to enjoy internally, and are always distressed. I was connecting this when I was actually in university. I was always under the impression that when whoever is actually driving luxurious cars like Audi, Mercedes might be absolutely happy because they're they got the best of the best things, especially when it relates to the cars. And one fine day, I was actually can you hear me, bro? I got an echo. Okay. So one fine day, I was actually traveling in a tram, and there was an Audi car which was passing next to me. And I was thinking like, oh, this was like during my university days, and I was thinking like, wow, this is a luxurious car, and the people might be just enjoying this luxurious car. But when I see the people inside, the husband and wife were actually, were crying. I don't know what could be the reason. I'm just trying to actually understand the concept here. They were crying. They were in anxiety. They could, I could see they are like completely distressed. Maybe that could be family affairs, or they could be like financial situations and all. But what I meant to say is. I was able to connect this one that externally you might be having so many luxurious things, but internally you're not really happy. So this clearly says that this material world is not going to give you any kind of happiness. People are just running behind happiness, but it is just a useless labor. And Srila Prabhupada says that this material world is full of anxiety, which is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. And on the same note, I have come across quite a few people, as we are all devotees, like we wanted to engage with the new devotees. And when we come across new person, for example, in my case, when I came across a new person, he says he's in full of anxiety and unnecessary tensions, and he was always thinking, and he was absolutely upset with so many things which are happening in his life. And at that time, when I introduced Bhagavad Gita sessions, then he was very excited. He said like, yes, I would be very keen, I would be like very much interested to attend the classes. But when the actual time of inviting him for a Bhagavad Gita session, they say like, I'm very busy, I don't have any time, or I'm occupied with so many other things as well. I'm sure like so many people who are actually conducting bhakti rickshaws, they can relate to this one. especially when you try to do a bit of marketing in the early stages of Bhakti Riksha, that you invite so many people, but ultimately there will be like hardly anyone who actually turns up. And it is just because they are so much engrossed in material activities, and they're completely absorbed in it, and they do not have any time for their own themselves. They don't want to give it a try at least, but they're so much involved in material activity that they don't have any time for themselves. But when we are practicing Krishna consciousness with pure chanting, without any offenses, we can see the difference in our life, and before Krishna consciousness and after Krishna consciousness as well. I mean, while during Krishna consciousness, like we can see the difference, isn't it? So previously we had a different meaning of happiness, which was very self-centered. But when we come to Krishna consciousness, we know that what is my relationship with the Supreme Lord, and we need to serve the Vaishnavas, and in that way we become happy. And there is a famous lecture of Srila Prabhupada at San Francisco Rath Yatra, where he is addressing the whole world, and it was a massive audience. And he was saying, all of you become Krishna consciousness, and there will be Vaikuntha. And finally he said, Hari Bol. It was a very transcendental lecture. Yes, wherever the devotees are observed in the spiritual energy, then the Supreme Lord appears. On that note, I just wanted to share a kind of example, or something that was relevant to this topic was in the South India, especially in the history of the South India. When we go back, there are famous stories of the Alvars. Once it is mentioned that when an Alvar was walking, a huge storm broke out. And as the storm broke out, he ran faster to looking for shelter. And then he found a small wooden cabin. It was very tiny, and it was like enough for him to sit down and lie down. As the rain was raging outside, he went to sleep, and he basically lie down and he went to sleep. Then in few minutes there was a knock on the door. Somebody was basically knocking, and he went to he heard someone was saying that he wants to come in. And the Alvar who was inside, he said, one person can sit and one person can lie down and one person can sit. So he let him inside. The Alvar who was basically, he let him inside, and now there are two people inside. And they were sitting together, and the whole night they were talking about Krishna Katha. And after some time, there was one more knock on the door. So it was another Alvar who said, can I come in? And they answered, we are one person inside who can lie down, two can sit, and three can stand. So the third person also came inside, and they were all standing together. Sometimes you can imagine when you are in a lift, it's a small cabin. It is similar to this one. So in a lift, it is so uncomfortable situation that you're so close to the other person. You can't even breathe, but you have to face the other person. So that's how the situation, which was so uncomfortable inside. And sometimes you feel like, when will my floor come so that I can just get out of this lift also? So that was the situation of these Alvars. So these Alvars were actually standing together, chanting and discussing about Krishna Katha. And in the morning, the sunrise, they looked at each other and said, it isn't very amazing, isn't it? They have actually spent the whole night talking about Krishna Katha, where one can lie down, two can sit, and three can stand the whole night. And there was a voice from the sky where it says, three can stand and four can stay. And that was the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. So basically, what it was said is, Yatra Gayanti Mad Bhaktaha Tatra Tishtami Narada. Because you all chanted so deeply, it wasn't just you three, I was also there. That was a statement from the Supreme Lord. Yes, it was so beautiful. So sometimes it is a simple point, but as we become more absorbed in Krishna, then all our anxiety is gone, and the Supreme Lord appears. So the association of the devotees is a kind of mystical thing, because the association of the devotees is sometimes the hardest thing in the world, and simultaneously the most easier and effortless thing in the world. sometimes in the association of the devotees, we can find frustration, and sometimes anger not to accept the other person also. But sometimes it is a beautiful manifestation of love. So sometimes we feel in the association of the devotees, I'm just done. I can't deal with this anymore, and I want to take a break. And the moment you take a break, you feel like, when will I go back? So it is the amazing thing that the association of the devotees brings so many different emotions within our mind, isn't it? So out of all the experience that we have in the association of the devotees or in the association of the communities, it is dependent on this one single point: yatra yatrendriyante katamrishtas, as stated in the first line of the words. It is all dependent on the absorption of every single individual. So it is also mentioned that there are 5 types of dhams. The original holy dham in the spiritual world, which is the Goloka Vrindavan. The Bhauma Vrindavan, which is where Krishna manifests on this world and enacted his pastimes. And there is something called Drishyamana Vrindavan, which is the dham in this world that remains completely spiritual, and even after Krishna disappears, it remains spiritual. So it is visible to us, but covered by his Yogamaya potency, by the Yogamaya potency of the Supreme Lord. And the other one is Hridisthita Vrindavan. It is the dham in the heart of the pure devotees, which is revealed by the grace of the Lord. And the last one is the Gupta Vrindavan, the dham which is envisioned by the pure devotees. So the Acharyas explained that each of these dhams have equal potency. However, Bhauma Vrindavan, the spiritual Vrindavan, these are special, as it doesn't matter what goes on there and what happens there. Their spiritual potency is never reduced. The Gupta Dham can be as powerful as Bhauma, as powerful as spiritual, but it all depends on the absorption of the each individuals to make up that community. So the potentiality is there, as Srila Prabhupada envisaged that each one of these communities becomes spiritual world, which is what mentioned in the purport, but it all depends on the absorption of the individuals. And you see, in the material world, people measure their wealth in different ways. We measure sometimes our wealth in a very gross way, like how much money do I have? Or someone may say, no, it is not about money, it is about gold. And how much gold do you have, right? It all depends on different people's understanding of wealth. So because the why they say gold is like much more better thing to have in forms of wealth, because money is fluctuating and it is an artificial wealth, whereas gold is the real wealth. But even then, the Shastras say if you have a cow and the land, that's enough. You can eat, because you cannot eat gold, right? They say that if you have land and cow, that's also enough. But if you go beyond this gross wealth and look at the subtle wealth, if you have time, if you have health, or if you have reputation, or someone might say if you have knowledge and austerity, then you have wealth. However, out of all these, the highest kind of wealth is the spiritual wealth. The spiritual wealth is measured only by one thing. It is measured only by one and only one thing, which is how much ability one has to be absorbed in the transcendental vibration of the holy name. So this is the one and the transcendental wealth we should have. So therefore, the word sadhana is an interesting word that can be defined in various ways. But the Sanskrit dictionary says sadhana means sadhana, iti sadhana, endowed with greatest wealth, because the only wealth in the world is the wealth of being absorbed in Krishna. And there is no solution about this. The only solution is to be absorbed in Krishna. And therefore, the devotees don't try to solve their problems. In other words, one who has a strong spiritual practice, one who is absorbed in their sadhana, absorbed in Krishna, is the greatest wealth of all. And there is no solution for it. And the only solution is to be absorbed in Krishna. So therefore, devotees don't try to solve their problems, because the only opportunity is to be absorbed in Krishna Bhakti. Because we know Krishna culture Krishna consciousness is the culture of absorption. We see, for example, Srila Prabhupada was able to do incredible things. He was able to bring people together. He was able to, make them live together in an incredible way. And he was able to move the things in the material world like the mammoth task that it all began with an internal absorption. Otherwise, it's not practical. It is not possible for ordinary people like myself or anyone else. Sometimes we tell that the devotees are living in invisible world because their time alone with Krishna, their time absorbed in hearing and chanting empowers them in everything else they do. So if you think of Srila Prabhupada as well, the whole world talks about Srila Prabhupada's achievements. How many people saw Prabhupada when he was all alone between the age of 59 to 65, absorbed in Krishna in Radha Damodar temple, which the world did not see. And if you talk about the world did not see when he was going in the cargo ship as well, he was taking shelter of Krishna Katha, reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the nectarine of life. The whole world did not see when Prabhupada was waking up before the whole world was moving. And all alone, he was sitting in his room. He was translating Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And no one saw when Srila Prabhupada was struggling in New York without any help or support. Of course, when we talk about Srila Prabhupada, he's a pure devotee who was able to do all of this. But the lesson we can take from this is the absorption in Krishna consciousness helps us to do amazing things. But it's amazing because the first thing, when we talk on the other side with pure devotees, the first thing that happens when life gets intense, the absorption goes down, isn't it? When we see practically also, whenever we are in intense situation, our absorption goes down, which is the greatest loss. Because when the intensity rises, the absorption must rise. Otherwise, there is no solution. And this culture of absorption really makes everything transcendental. So when I was trying to make some notes as well, I was thinking of this connection, especially in this connection to the absorption. I don't want to take any name as such, but there was a devotee in Melbourne. He lost his son in a grave incident, and his son was actually battling for life for at least a week, and he was on various support systems as well. But of course, after the entire thing happened, Prabhu actually came and disclosed everything throughout the period of what happened for his son and how he was able to overcome. And finally, he has to let the boy go because he was unable to survive, and he was always on the support. We were overwhelmed with the way the Prabhu was actually handling the situation, and it was all just because of his absorption in Krishna. He was doing so many services. He was doing book distribution. He was doing preaching. He was engaged in any other activity that you mentioned in devotional services. So just that absorption itself actually helped him to overcome the pain, because the way he described the incident happened, the way the boy was struggling in the hospital on the support system, the way he was actually he has to let him go because of the struggle that he was going through. And finally, just before the cremation also, he made it a point that he will finish, or he will complete his 16 rounds of chanting, and only then he will go to attend the cremation of his own son. So that was like out of the world. I can't even imagine to get to that level. And it all happens only by the mercy of the pure devotees, that you get absorbed in Krishna, and then you'll be able to handle the anxieties that come in your material life as well. And I also came across a note which Srila Prabhupada once wrote to his disciples. He said, if you don't have significant hearing and chanting, eventually all of your services become a burden. So yes, this is a very good example for all of us, that if we do not have intense hearing and chanting every single day, then at some point in time, all the services that we are trying to render will become a big burden. And he also says that you look at your spiritual master and think that he has left me a big burden, because we were not involved or not engaged in hearing and chanting so much that whatever the instructions that your spiritual master has left, it will sound like they were a big burden on you. So to serve is our greatest privilege, especially to the spiritual master and of course to all the Vaishnavas as well. And it is the greatest work that one can take. And it is the greatest opportunity by means we have to be absorbed in Krishna. And Srila Jiva Goswami comments on the Bhagavad Gita and he analyzes the very first thing that Krishna says to Arjuna is Ashoshanan Vashoshastvam Pragnavadanscha Bhashase Gatasun Akatasunscha Nanushoshanti Panditaha. So the very first instruction Krishna gives to Arjuna is Na Shoshanti. Don't lament. Don't be fearful. Don't be in anxiety. And then Jiva Goswami looks at the Gita and says the very final instruction Krishna gives to Arjuna is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayasyami Masujaha. So the very first thing and the very last thing Krishna says to Arjuna is don't fear, don't be in anxiety, don't be bewildered, don't be overwhelmed. So Jiva Goswami says that this is the basic condition of every living being. And also it's mentioned in Isopanishad as well. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Shishyate. That the Supreme Lord is the complete and perfect. So everyone who is emanating from the Supreme Lord is also complete. But when we forget our connection with Krishna and when we disconnect from the transcendental vibration, then we feel incomplete. And when we feel incomplete, obviously there is a feel of insecureness. When we feel insecure, we feel very fearful. And when we feel fear, there is also enviousness, possessiveness, and all this come about. Therefore, a community becomes Vaikuntha when all the individuals are as much possible absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Because all of this fear is removed and then they come together, then it becomes something very powerful. That is a secret how to create Vaikuntha. And of course, in the community, there could be in the spirit of comparison or appreciation or competition or criticism or understanding or collaboration. Like this, it can be in the spirit of complaining or contributing and whatnot. The one and the only one thing which can determine the shift is made from one spirit to the other is the absorption in Krishna consciousness. That is as simple as that, isn't it? So here in this verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is mentioned that when the pure talks of the Lord are going on, and Srila Prabhupada adds a subtle statement there saying that at least for the time being. So Prabhupada adds that in the translation, and he says we're trying, basically is trying to say that when we come out of the vibration and when we come out of the absorption and when we come out of the contact with Krishna through our spiritual status, then all the fear, all the envy, and all the disunity comes back in. And also, I was reading, I just came across an article as well where it is mentioned that Srila Prabhupada once wrote a letter to the GBC. And throughout the whole letter, he's telling, he's talking about all the duties that the disciples have to perform. And it is very interesting in the final part of the Srila Prabhupada's letter, he says to the GPC, don't forget your main duty is to become mad of Krishna. So in the whole letter, he's saying about pay this bill, approach this person, get this transaction done, and all the duties that the GPC have to perform. But Prabhupada says, don't forget your main thing, that to become mad of Krishna, because only then we will stay focused. So stay happy and joyful and spread Krishna consciousness to others. And also in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam brings back this point in many verses also. And Sanatana Goswami also says that Mad Eka Bandho, Mad Sangin, Mad Guru, Man Mahadana, Mad Nishtaraka, Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda, Mad Ananda Namostute. And what it actually mentions in as per the translation is, O Srimad-Bhāgavatam, O my only friend, companion, and teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my great fortune and bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. And he also glorified Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in a few other verses as well. I just read the translation for our understanding. O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By your recitation, one attains transcendental bliss because your syllables shower down pure love of God. You are to be served by everyone, always, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. In another verse, he says, O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, O my only friend, companion, and teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my good fortune and bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. And he also mentioned in one of the other verse, O Srimad-Bhagavatam, O bestower of the saintless to this unsaintly, O uplifter of the most fallen, please never leave me, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Please manifest yourself in my heart and throat. So we can see that Prabhupada has set us very high expectations for all of us. And he says the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to make Vaikuntha on earth. And it all begins with each individual because we are all building blocks and building of this community. And when I was hearing about, this verse and a few other lectures as well, someone asked Keshav Maharaj, His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj, in order to fix our mind or absorbed in Krishna, we need to do proper chanting. And how can we do proper chanting with the mind which is not fixed and disturbed? Isn't it? This is a very common question that we always come across. In order to be fixed in Krishna consciousness, we are supposed to do proper chanting. We are supposed to be absorbed completely by the process of chanting. But one of the devotee was asking, like, how can I do proper chanting when the mind is not at all fixed and it is not and it's always disturbed? This happens with all of us, all the devotees. And Maharaj brilliantly answers. He says that it is just like the saying, how can I do exercise when my whole body is not fit? He puts it in a very subtle way. So if someone says, I don't have 10 minutes to meditate, I can't do proper chanting as my mind is restless, then we look at them and we say, you should do 20 minutes of chanting. So sadhana, as per Keshav Maharaj's explanation, he says that sadhana is very hard, but living with the restless mind is even harder. Exercising is hard, but being ill even is very harder. So studying for exams is hard, but failing in the exam is even harder. And therefore, it is not that we wait for the time when we get absorbed in Krishna consciousness. We have to apply ourselves. That means at least externally. So when you do your sadhana, give it the best part of the day. When you do your sadhana, do it in the best environment. If you externally give it a priority, then internally there is some purification. Therefore, he says, when there is attention, there will be attraction and there will be attachment. But you may say that I don't have attention. Yes, the devotees will say that I don't have attention. But the point is that you can hit the attention in the external first. That will at least control you. What happens is we don't even give that attention externally. And we don't give the best time for the sadhana. We don't give the best environment for the sadhana. And obviously, we do not get the best out of it. So we don't, for example, he also says that if you have a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, like when you try to get absorbed in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and you have your phone next to yourself and get distracted with all the notifications on it, then obviously you won't be able to get absorbed in Krishna. So the best thing would be not to look at the phone for at least for the first 4 hours of the beginning of the day. Then he also says the world is not going to be ending and you don't find yourself in stressful situation. So he says, like, just learn to live in chaos. And he finally ended that answer by saying, easier than thinking yourself a new way of acting is acting yourself in a new way of thinking. I know it sounds like a quotation, but when we try to actually meditate deeply on this statement, there is a lot of inner meaning. And we should actually try and adopt such kind of things which Maharaj mentioned, that we need to give the best of the time, best of the environment, and prioritize our chanting first thing, so that we will be able to perform the rest of the activities for the day in a Krishna consciousness mood as well. I think even I mentioned in one of the class, which was mentioned by His Grace Shamananda Krishna Prabhu, the difference between any materialistic people or any devotees of performing any activity is the devotees actually do chanting before performing an activity as an offering to Krishna. That's where they actually differentiate. So begin with what you're in control of. Begin with the gross first, which is controlling the external things about like environment, time, and the situation that you are in. Then the subtle things, which is about controlling of the mind, will be automatically controlled. And the greatest fear we should all have is when we look away from Krishna, we get absorbed into the Maya, and then we see the reality. Then you will become very fearful. Just like there is an analogy, just like all the fishes, when a fisherman is trying to do fishing, all the fishes which are away from the fisherman are caught, but those fishes which are actually close to the feet of the fisherman, they're not caught, isn't it? That's a practical example that we can think of. Similarly, if we take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and not getting trapped, like the Maya as such, and obviously we will be able to get absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And there were a few other important slokas that have actually discussed about the importance of hearing Krishna Katha in the association of devotees. One famous words we can all relate to is the words from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, chapter number 25 and verse number 25, where it says, Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kataha tajjoshanadas vavavargavattamani shraddharatir bhaktir anupramishati. The translation, it says, in the association of the pure devotees, the discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin after that. We also heard the most famous words about how the Lord actually resides in the heart of the devotees when we take to his shelter, which is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, chapter number 8 and verse number 5, where it says, Pravishta karnarandrena shwanam bhavasaroruham dunoti samalam Krishna salilasya yata sharat. So the translation, it says, is the sound incarnation of the Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, enters into the heart of the self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of the material association, such as the lust, anger, and hankering. Thus, it acts like the autumn rains upon pools of the muddy water. And also, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshashtakam, he declares that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. So, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about and glorify Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and also remember the personality of the Godhead, which is the only way. And for that, we have to take the association of the devotees. Without the association of the devotees, we cannot progress in bhakti. Unless you are a pure devotee or Paramahamsa, there is no other way to progress in our sadhana. And one advantage for all the devotees, I can say in layman words, or maybe the practical thing that we can all see is, if you think of people from other communities, maybe like not practicing devotees, whenever they go to different places, they find it really hard to get into any community or to get into any group of people as such, because obviously they don't have the like-minded people. For example, in our case, when we moved from Melbourne to here, we find it was like a cakewalk, because Srila Prabhupada has made all the arrangements for us that we have the best of the devotees, we have the best of the association, we have all the like-minded people who are thinking on the same way. So for us, it was like cakewalk, because my kids have their friends who are devotee friends. My wife and myself have all the devotee friends, and we felt like there is no difference whether I'm here or whether I'm somewhere else as well, because Prabhupada, by his mercy, we have such a wonderful community of ISKCON. Wherever we go, we have the devotees, and we can engage in Krishna Katha and remember Krishna all the time. But when we think of other people from other, communities, not sampradayas as such, but those people who are not really following any devotional path as such, they struggle. This is my own experience. One of my friend in my own office, he was saying that I find it really hard if I have to move from one place to the other, because we don't really have the like-minded people, and it takes ages to find the right person. But for us, Prabhupada has done all the hard work. He has established ISKCON for us. He has established all the things that we can follow, and we can live our life in a very blissful way. That is all I wanted to share in today's class. And if I have used any words that are not appropriate, it is purely out of my ignorance. And my only effort was to purify my own consciousness and glorify Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and glorify this wonderful verse. And I really thank all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis assembled on this call from the bottom of my heart for giving me an opportunity to glorify these words. Thank you so much. And if there are any corrections, any comments, any feedbacks, please feel to chip in. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Kadamni Radha here. Thank you very much for such a wonderful class. What I get from this class, and of course from all other class, is the main important thing is the association of the devotees. And when we hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the association of devotees, and there is always emphasis on the association of the devotees, as you mentioned, in Bhagavatam 3:25-25. So in the association of pure devotees, we are discussing the pastimes and activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is so pleasing and satisfying. Sometimes I wonder why people want to talk about all those mundane things, and after talking all those things, then what happens? Your heart also becomes impure, and you are thinking of all material things. And this happens when you have got a long association, even with your family members, if they are not Krishna conscious. Even if you are association materially, you can have association of your family and all that. But if they are talking about mundane things, it's very difficult. At least I find it's very difficult for me to talk about those things, because they think
Yeah.
that devotees are actually not enjoying. And this is the thing but when we hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and have association of devotees, we can see how happy we are. When we have programs in the temple, on Saturdays, and we have classes and from the devotees, it's so pleasing. And I still wonder, and I feel that why people are not interested in that. Such a Prabhupada has given us everything. Our temples are Vaikuntha.
Yeah.
As you said, wherever we go, we don't feel that we are left out. If we have association of devotees, anywhere in the world you go, and you don't know them. And when you go to the temple there, you meet the devotee, you think that you know them for a long time, because we all
Yes.
have got the same purpose. And this purpose is to please Krishna and please the devotees and have their association. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Such a wonderful class. And we are very fortunate to hear from devotees in Brisbane. And so I'm really very grateful for that. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for adding your wonderful comments and sharing some realizations as well. Yes, that is the best thing that we can get. Without the association of the devotees, we will definitely struggle in our sadhana. And Srila Prabhupada has done all the hard work to have a platform for us where we can just enjoy the process of bhakti in the association of the devotees. Yeah, without devotees, we will certainly struggle. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Anyone
Sadananda
else?
Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much for your very wonderful class. Very nicely explained.
Just one thought I had was, in association of devotees, we need at least that one devotee to whom we can open our heart and be ourselves. That is the most important association that we can have. Of course, coming together, reading, coming together, discussing about Krishna is wonderful. But really, this is what will always keep us together, is because everybody has difficulties in progression, and we are not of the kind where we can open our heart to everybody. But if we have at least that one devotee whom we can open our heart, whom we have the trust to share everything, that is the most wonderful thing. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Absolutely rightly said, Prabhu. I think I've mentioned to maybe a few devotees in the past, which I heard a statement. All of us in the human form of life, we have three different lives. One is a public life, a private life, and a personal life. So public life, we can share to everyone. And personal life, yes, we can share to the family. But private life, it is only for yourself. And in our sadhana or in our spiritual progress, if we need to see any changes, then we need to find that right person, as you mentioned, with whom we can all, we can share everything, whatever the struggles that we are going through. Then that person should be the right person who can actually direct us in the right way, so that we can continue with our sadhana and ensure that we are progressing as well. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Anyone else would like to share any other points or corrections, comments? Okay, if no other comments, thank you so much for your valuable time and giving me an opportunity to glorify these wonderful words. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grandhara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
His Grace Sadananda Prabhu ki jai.
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 Lord Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.